for me, when I'm thinking about my workflow, I want it to be easy, I want it to be very accessible, and I want it to feel creative, I want to feel inspired by my surroundings, and I want it to be tactile. And I think as my music's evolved, that's something that has remained the same. So yeah, when I start out, I've really taken to using this NanoPad 2 by Korg. It's really tactile, and I just kind of like the basic stuff you can do with it. So I get that, and I build a drum loop with that. Really is how we kick things off. We put it into the drummer, add some fills in there as well. I also really love the X and Y feature with the NanoPad 2. So like, what I like to do is to get a sample and then to run that through as Midi. Here's a basic example of that kind of sound. I think as my music's evolved, I've been wanting to use more and more loops. I'm kind of bridging a lot of gaps genre-wise at the moment. Whereas I started out predominantly in more sort of rock and roll production, these days it's geared a lot more towards kind of pop with a vintage feel to it. And a really handy tool for me is something like the ADSR sample libraries, sample managers. They're a great company. I use a lot of their stuff. But I don't just use a sample in the sense of just whacking it in a song. I try and find interesting things to do with it and to try to make it your own. Sometimes I just use the sample library as a source of inspiration, and you can find something on there. They're all completely royalty free, and you can expand that into a song. I mean, I'll give you an example of some of the great stuff that's on there. And then you can start to just write a beat over that. I'm also a big fan of Splice. That's something that I've been getting into recently. That's a huge platform for loop libraries. Also, again, it's about finding interesting ways to use them within your production and not sort of leaning on them so much, but making them your own and seeing what you can do with your music with them. So I do a lot of my work keyboard wires with Midi, so it helps to have a nice big weighted keys MIDI controller. This Yamaha is perfect for that. I've had it for a very long time, and it's a good starting place when I'm trying to figure out the song. This song, for instance, started here. That's where it starts, and then obviously using Midi, I use a lot of virtual instruments. There's some really good Arturia stuff out there that I like. They do a great Yamaha DX7 clone, which is on this track, and also lots of stuff with Anna 2 from Slate Audio. Big fan of that. It's probably one of the most powerful synths out there online. Okay, so once I've got my drums down, and I'm starting to get the idea for a melody in my head maybe, and then I've got all my samples in, be it from Splice or from any other libraries that I'm using. Then what I do is I start to make chops out of them. And then once you get your chops, I can go down onto my MIDI controller and I can control and actually play those chops in. Or I can assign them to my pad and I can play those chops in there. So what you end up with is your own personal loops, which is a really good way of doing it. Something else I like to do is to use roll-ups, synth swells, things like that, just to add that drama coming in and out of sections. I'll show you what I mean with one I've started working on today. So you hear the swell come through the background there. It sounds a bit like this. And that is time locked and synced key-wise with everything else that I'm doing. And this coming in and out of sections just really helps. It's another nice little production tip, trick. So now I'm going to lay down a bass groove. I've got an idea in my head already. I think it's going to complement the track well. I kind of go for quite a processed bass sound. I like a lot of distortion. I like a lot of width on my bass sound. A bit of chorus. I'm really into that kind of 80s driven bass sound. And in a lot of my songs and compositions, I like the bass to be grooving and pumping. But I also like it to be supported by the kick doing a lot of the low end. So I take a lot of low out, let's just see. So for quick and for ease, when I'm trying to just get a guide vocal down, if I've got something in mind, I go through my lovely Sennheiser, which I've had for years and years and years, and it's just my go-to quick idea microphone. So now, yeah, we're going to track some vocals on this song. Why can't you see it if it's not there? Why do you believe it? So then when I've got an idea and I know what it is I want to say and what this song's about, I come over and I double up my guide vocal with my U87 clone in my booth here, which we constructed at home, which is actually really nice, quite dead sounding, and a great place to track vocals because I can see out the skyline. Another reason, if it's not there, why do you believe it? If I quickly open up the virtual mix rack, I can go straight in there and instantly dial in a chain that works nicely for me, just to keep the workflow good and get those sort of quick mixes done. There's a few presets which I've saved within there, and some of the stock ones that are just great. And instantly you've got your compression chain and your gain chain just worked out, which is a really nice thing to have on the fly for your workflow. So that's a basic look at my process and how I begin to get the idea for a song down, and really the genesis of it. I hope you found it informative and helpful some way in your process. And just remember that music, it's not one size fits all. How you do things and how I do things are completely different, but the important thing is if you feel like you have something to say and a way to express it, just get out there on any gear you can, be it the lowest budget or the highest budget. I guarantee you some of the things that you love the most were made on setups very similar to this. Just keep making it.